Welcome back to MVM. On the table today, I have the game Barbaric from Hexa House. Now, this is a post-apocalyptic game that does some really neat things. It is kind of a miniatures skirmish game. However, there is a lot more to do than just skirmishing with your opponents. The game, like I said, is post-apocalyptic. It takes place in the far future, well after humans invented these energy cores. Now, these energy cores promised everlasting energy, but they had some serious side effects to the environment. One of those things was creating what are effectively mutant creatures, giving sentience to animals and turning them into different versions, almost like anthropomorphic creatures. Now, it's also created some mutations of giant monsters like you see here in my hand. Now, well after that, humanity managed to wipe themselves out. They flooded their cities, they lost all their resources, they kind of went extinct. All that was left was those genetic creations that they had left behind, and those creatures had to form a civilization and pick up the pieces. And you do that by investigating the drowned cities of humanity, trying to find resources. And those resources come in the form of food, fuel, and scrap. Now, each one of these resources does something different. They're all very important to your character and improving your character over the course of the game. So you're going to be wanting to investigate these ruins, trying to find these resources. However, that atomic energy core still exists in the city. This is the Maltese Falcon of this game. This is your objective. You are trying to get into the city, grab this, and get out. If you manage to do that, you flat out win the game. Now, of course, all of your opponents are going to be trying to stop you from taking this token. You have to literally get to the very center of the board and get back out to one of the exit spots along the edge in order to win the game. Now, that might seem pretty easy. You just run in, grab it, run out. However, that energy core is protected by one of those giant monsters. This is Komagon, which is the one that we're playing with today. And he sits squarely in the center of the board, surrounded by all of his minions, which are going to be moving around and attacking you. Not only that, but your opponents are able to attack you as well. So it becomes a lot more complicated than you'd think. Luckily, every one of your characters has what's called a gear. And you'll notice that these are in two parts. You have your hero, represented by this mini, and you have your gear, represented by this mini. You're able to actually put them together, and that's going to form the character that you're playing during this game. In addition, each one of those characters is going to come with their own player board. So you have a player board for your character that lists all of your character's special abilities and your health and experience dial for that character. You're going to combine that with one of those gears, those machines. You're actually literally connecting them together to form one coherent piece. Now, your character is going to be taking damage, and so is your gear over the course of the game. Your character has stamina, your gear has energy. You're trying to balance these two things and level them both up by using abilities from both sides as you explore this ruin. So not only are you going to have differing player boards with some differing abilities, you're also going to have two decks of skill cards. You're going to have one deck for your character and one deck for your gear. These are completely asymmetric. So based on the combination that you're choosing, you're going to have a completely different set of skills to choose from. You're going to start the game with 4 of these. You're going to choose 2 from your gear, and you're going to choose 2 from your hero, and you're going to place them in front of you. Using these skills is what's going to drive the action forward in the game. These are going to do a wide variety of abilities that are going to affect the game in a variety of different ways, giving you attacks and recovery and power up and things like that. In addition, you're going to start with 1 stamina and 1 energy, and you're going to start with no damage on either side. Remember, you have to take damage all the way up to 6. Now, this game takes place in a number of rounds until somebody meets that in-game condition. However, there are actually 2 conditions. If you're struggling to get that energy core and get out, if you eliminate 2 of your enemies, you win the game as well. So there is kind of a way to win just by being PvP aggro here. There is no player elimination, I should say. If you are eliminated, you're just removed back to your spawn point and you recover and you come back into the game. So nobody's ever eliminated completely, but if you manage to eliminate 2 of your enemies, then you win. So you still don't want to get eliminated because you're putting somebody else one step closer to victory. Now, that does not count in knocking out these minions or the monster there. Something much worse happens as you're fighting these minions. Now, every one of these monsters is going to have their unique monster board, which you see, and that's they're going to have a variety of unique monster abilities as well as a frenzy track. As you fight these monsters and defeat their little minions, you're going to be moving the frenzy token up on that track. Once it hits a number equal to the number of players, so I'm in a 4-player game, as soon as you hit 4, you start rolling the frenzy die. If you roll a 4 or under, then you're actually going to trigger a frenzy. The monster takes a bonus turn right in the middle of the game, and that can kind of debilitate you and lead to some really bad turns. So you want to kind of watch that frenzy track as well, but you need to protect yourself from those monsters, from those minions, from the other players. So there's a lot happening in this game. Like I said, it is a tactical game. You are still working on this hex board, moving around, exploring all of these different locations, and you'll see that every one of these locations has some different icons printed on them, from subways, which let you bounce around the board, to these question marks, which let you roll the resource die, to these little migrant symbols. And these are migrant cards, which reflect people trying to escape. Or when I say people, I mean these animals that have come to life. No more humans. But you will be able to rescue some survivors from this drowned city. So as you kind of investigate these tokens, you're able to flip over these migrant cards. They add a little bit of narrative to the game and give you some bonuses for rescuing people. So you're trying to maintain all of that while also upgrading both your character, upgrading your gear, gaining new skills, and trying to complete the objectives of the game. Now, the actual game is played over a couple different phases. You have a daytime phase and a nighttime phase. During each one of those phases, you're going to get to take 2 actions, and those actions can be on your player side, they can be on your gear side, or any combination. Like I said, you've got stamina for your hero, and you've got energy for your gear. You have to spend these in order to take actions. But as you learn skills, they're going to come with their own stamina tokens as well that indicate how many times you can use them. When you first learn one of your skills, you're going to place it in front of you with one of those icons, and that's going to let you use that skill 1 time. If you level that skill up, you'll take another one, and now you can use that skill twice now that you've leveled it up before the refresh phase. So you'll get a little bit more usage of those skills as time goes on. You're also leveling up your character. You're not only increasing your health, but you're also increasing your stamina and energy, how many of those tokens you're going to get, which means you will be able to take more actions over the course of the game as the game progresses. That sense of progression is really there. Building out that tableau and having a ton of active cards in front of you really leads to some very satisfying turns. Now, you're still limited by how much you can do in one round, and each round is going to be determined, like I said, by the day or night cycle, and that is going to be indicated by these event cards. Every event card that you draw is going to have a day side and a night side. So depending on if you draw it during the day or drawing it during the night, it's going to affect what you're going to be able to do on that turn. So some of these events are sweeping and they affect everybody. Some of them give you very specific things to do. So when you place one of these cards out and draw it, you're going to place it whichever side is face up for night or day. So as you move on through this, you're going to be having multiple cards in front of you that indicate the day and night cycle. Now, during the day and night cycle, you're going to be able to take actions like I said, but one of the things you're doing is preparation. And on your turn, when you're doing one of these preparation actions, other players can choose to follow you. So you're not just sitting there on other players' turns doing nothing, waiting to see what they're doing. You're actually getting to take actions with them as they do their preparation. Then they're going to go on to do their main actions, and each player is going to have this phase. So you're going to get a number of preparation actions, and then your own actions you get to take on your turn. And you're going to do this both during the day phase and the night phase, so you're effectively getting 2 sets of actions. But like I said, nothing refreshes until the end of the round. So as you're using your stamina tokens, using your energy tokens and things like that, they're not replenishing yet until the very end. Because after the night phase, after everyone has taken their actions, that's when the monster is going to act. And the monster is going to act based on one of these monster cards. And of course, every one of these monster cards is going to have a different effect. They're also going to send their minions out to attack people and potentially do damage and wreck your gear or wound your character, which can be really bad for you. So this cycle is going to kind of repeat between the day phase, night phase, monster phase, then you finally get to your refresh phase. Now, of course, there are a number of actions that you're going to be able to do, since these actions are kind of based on your skills, but every character has kind of the same basic actions. Now, your actual character can search, provide first aid, or use one of their active skills. These skills start off unearned, and you're going to actually earn mastery tokens over the course of the game. That's going to let you master one of those skills, and then you'll have that skill available. But as you're searching, you'll be able to gain resources. Your gear is going to let you move around. Your gear is going to be able to maintain its shields. And then your gear has some skills as well that can be mastered over the course of the game. So as you play through an entire game, you're going to be feeling that sense of character progression I talked about. You're really leveling up your characters. You're kind of building them into your specific focus, not just with those masteries, but by the skills that you're choosing as well, because you have this huge skill deck here that's going to be the combination. And every time you play this game, if you're using a different combination of hero and gear, you're going to be using a completely different skill deck. And of course, some of these are going to synergize really well. You're going to have some characters that have abilities that work really well with certain gears, but generally they all work really well together, and they're going to give you a very different play style every time you play based on that combination. And of course, there is this one monster that I have with the one monster board. There may be more monsters. I feel like there's at least a couple more monsters that are going to be coming out with this game. I'm interested to kind of see what they include, because these monsters do change up the game. The strategies that you have to use to avoid and fight these monsters are very different. But if you play strategically and you let either, your opponents deal with the monster while you sneak in and get that core, or you just battle it out with everyone until you win, you can kind of choose the path that you want to take through this game. So again, there's just a ton of customization here, in that you can actually kind of tweak these characters to play the way that you want to play the game. And there are, in my version that I got here, 4 different characters with 4 different gears, so you're creating a bunch of different combinations there. And when it comes to expansions and other content, who knows what the final number of these are going to be? I'm sure they know, but they haven't told me yet. So I'm interested again to find out how much that's going to be, because I like that replayability, and I know a lot of you viewers out there like that replayability as well. The fact that you can come to this game with a completely different setup, and then of course, who doesn't love the way that these things interlock? I mean, that is just a really, really cool table presence, and it makes the game just a little bit more thematic in my mind. So that is Barbaric. You can find this game on crowdfunding soon. You'll be able to look at the crowdfunding page and see, maybe they'll spoil some of that expansion stuff. Maybe they'll show some of those monsters. I don't know. Maybe they've got some of it hiding behind stretch goals. So make sure to back now if this game looks interesting to you. And as always, please ask any questions, leave any comments. Let me know your thoughts on this game below. And thank you so much for watching. Keep having fun at the table.
Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.